G'day everyone, welcome back to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. We are going to be continuing today with our Hunters series, taking a look at the 5-star legendary green heroine, Chainsaw, the Chainblade Sprinter. So Jane is available for summons, as we saw from the Monster Island portal, which rolls around once every 8 weeks. The portal itself, it's got fairly average odds. There is only a 1.2% chance of summoning an event hero or event legendary hero. There's no featured heroes, which does mean that the odds do be dropping off when you are summoning for someone specific. So to put that into perspective, if you were to do 100 summons in this portal, you would have a 70% probability of getting any of the 8 Monster Island legendary heroes, but you would have only a 13.9% probability of summoning a specific legendary hero that you're trying to get. So Chainsaw herself, she has been in the game for quite a while now. She was added with the original batch of heroes in the initial appearance of the Monster Island event back in February 2022. The portal was expanded in March 2023 with a couple additional heroes, but that's kind of the summary of the portal's history. If we flip over to my roster, we can take a real quick look at her artwork. So there's Chainsaw. So she's got a chain blade for an arm. Not probably the safest thing to be sprinting around with. You know, when you're a kid, they tell you not to run with scissors. I guess no one really told Jane that she shouldn't be running with a chainsaw arm. But yeah, got some bite marks going on both her arm and on her stomach. So that's a little bit how you're going. And then yeah, we've got the spikes on a pair of Converses, which, as we all know, is pinnacle, like the absolute peak of sprinting attire. So yeah, that's her artwork. Her family bonus, so as is the case with all of these heroes, Chainsaw is a member of the Hunter family, which means that she receives an increase of healing when there are multiple Hunter families in a battle. So specifically, if there are 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique Hunters, then they will each receive a bonus 10, 15, 20, and 25% healing. 2 things to note. So number 1, they are unique heroes, so it can't be 2 copies of Chainsaw. It's got to be 2 different heroes, like combining Jane with Torrent or Jane with Accent as an example. Second thing worth noting is that this is a terrible family bonus. I generally don't like healing bonus effects, and I like it even less on this family bonus when you consider that there aren't actually any healers in amongst the Monster Island heroes. The best you've got, or the closest you come, is with Barbie, who does healing for damage, but otherwise there's nothing. So it doesn't really synergize within the family. If the family bonus was something about fiends, so instead of it being increased healing, it was increased fiend life, then maybe I'd get behind it. But yeah, as it is for Jane and the rest of the Monster Island heroes, I'm not a fan of this family bonus. These heroes also gain a bonus when they are used actually in the Monster Island event. So specifically, whenever they cast their special skill, there's a 20% chance that they will apply a 1-turn attack delay and a 1-turn silence to hit enemies. There's also a bonus for having multiple heroes from the Monster Hunter family, giving a plus 4, 8, 12, 16, or 20% attack and defense bonus if there are 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 unique heroes in that team. So these effects only kick in when they are used in the Monster Island event. It doesn't apply at any other time of the game, only during the Monster Island event. In terms of Jane's personal stats, she comes in with 735 attack, 701 defense, and 1,437 HP. Her charge speed is set to 58, which is fast speed and requires 9 tiles to charge, or 5 ghosted tiles. The charge break needs to get up to 65, which you can only do using, well, a +7 gun, which coincidentally doesn't actually exist in green. You can, however, get that charge break by combining the +6 from the Relic Hunter Bargo with the 2% charge, the 4% charge generation bonus that comes from her talent tree. So that's kind of the speed side of things. In terms of her emblems and stuff, so we were talking about that. She is a member of the support class. which means that she does generate or does grant her a chance to withstand negative status effects as well as charge drain effects. So it is a pretty decent perk, particularly that effect where you can withstand charge cutting stuff, such as what comes from Dragon Fist or Echo. The effect is generally something like an inverse of the recon talent, so here you take damage but resist ailments, as opposed to the recon talent which dodges or evades damage but takes the ailments. By way of a specific emblem path, I personally have been going an attack route on my Chainsaw. This is mainly just to improve her damage output even further. So this is what I've done so far. Probably not going to go too much further than this, but yeah, the path that I'd be continuing to follow is we would be going and picking up attack and defense nodes wherever possible. So here we've got the choice of attack, pick up defense, attack and defense, and then attack and defense. You could probably stop it realistically there at plus 16, but you could also keep going and pick up that last node at plus 19 as well. The 20th node, if you are desperate to get that speed break, you do need it, but I don't know, I haven't gone that far. I find it still to be quite useful even at only 9 tiles to charge without getting that break down to 8 tiles. Yeah, so that's the emblem path. Oops. Heading back to the portal, and we can take a look at her special skill. So her special skill is titled Bone Ripper, and at level 10 skill and 58 charge speed, it will deal 335% damage to the target. It will then apply a Ripper Fiend to the target, which has 20% attack, and will absorb healing to a total of 27% of the recipient's maximum HP. The Ripper Fiend also prevents the owner from gaining buffs for as long as it is alive. So a little bit interesting, some of that stuff in there. So we'll break it down and start with the damage output. So as always, damage itself is difficult to consistently calculate because of the variation of randomness and also defense stats. What we can do is calculate a hero's attack power, which is analogous to their overall damage output. So attack power is just their attack stat multiplied by the percentage in their special skill. So in the case of Chainsaw here, we can see that she comes in with an attack power of 2,462, or a speed normalized attack power per tile of 274, which puts her there at number 4 ranked, and only a touch, like just a smidge, behind the number 3 ranked sniper in green. So not really too shabby in the scheme of things, coming out, as I said, at number 4 of the 13 green snipers. And yeah, just a small distance between some of those top ones. So you can see there, as I said, Mantis 277, Fiddle is a bit above on 291, but then there's a lot that are below Chainsaw in the damage output. So you've got Aurora at 234, Gearbox at 230, Richter at 198, and Walker all the way down the bottom there at 164 damage output. The other aspect of Jane's ability is the Ripper Fiend. So Fiends are a little bit interesting in that they both have and don't have HP. So in the case of the Chainsaw's Fiend itself, it will absorb healing up to a total of 27% of the recipient's maximum HP, which is what is shown as the Fiend's HP when you tap and hold for detailed information in a battle. There are 3 methods of getting rid of Fiends from existence. So number 1 is obviously just healing them away, which loses you a substantial amount of healing, so it's not ideal. The second way you can get rid of them is with a Fiend Destroyer, such as Marrow, who happens to be the only Fiend Destroyer in the game at this point in time. And the third method, which is a bit more accessible, which is to just displace them with minions, which is possible because the Fiend sits in one of the 3 minion slots on a hero's card. So you summon 3 minions, the Fiend is just kicked off the edge and just disappears, which is really awesome. The other thing that the Ripper Fiend does is that it has a passive attack each turn. So this is equal to essentially a 20% snipe from Chainsaw. It's not much, and it comes in at less than 20 damage most of the time, but it is a little bit of extra stuff. The other thing that the Ripper Fiend does is it blocks the affected hero from gaining buffs while it is active. And this is what I find to be probably the most useful part of Chainsaw, alright? It is an extremely useful effect in battles, with some really notable applications being to stop an enemy hero from gaining taunt, stopping counterattack, or stopping the delayed damage effect, like what Hypernova does. What's greatest about the effect here, though, is that it is tied to the Fiend. So there's not actually a turn limit to this effect. You don't have to keep refreshing the ability. You can just set it and forget it. You can trigger it at the start of a fight on a specific hero, and as long as there's no or minimal healing going on, you can just turn your attention to someone else, which is really, really fantastic. So overall, I do love using Chainsaw, right? The direct damage itself, it is pretty awesome. Green snipers are generally not as good as some of the other elements, but Jane is still a pretty decent damage dealer. Where Jane, though, is really great is in shutting down heroes that are reliant on buffs, with some really great examples being Hypernova specifically, taunt heroes, and also counterattack heroes, because you don't then have to worry about refreshing that ailment multiple times throughout the fight. You just set it off and then forget about it. So for Chainsaw's grading, I'm going to give her an A- for war and raid attack situations. Very useful hero. Yeah, decent damage, as I said, and a fantastic buff blocker. For War Machines, I'm going to give her a B grade. She does drop off a little bit in those situations. Similarly, for Eventing, I'm going to give her a B- because she's a single target only hitter. For Raid and War defenses, I'm going to give her a C+. Her stats aren't really the most defensively inclined, and her skill isn't really a defense team skill. So if you did have to use her, I'd probably stick her in the wing, but the better situation would be to use someone else on your defense team instead. In the 3 tournament setup, so we've got Bloody Battle, so I'm going to give her an A- for Bloody Battle attack and a C+ for defense. That's because the Fiend kind of just hangs around without any healing. For buff boosters, I'm going to give her an A grade for attack and a C+ for defense. Buff booster, she's a buff blocker, so kind of a match made in heaven there. And then finally, for charged attacks, I'm going to give her an A- for attack and a B- for defense, because she does get that speed break eventually on that setup. So overall, that comes in as being a B+ for attack and a C- for her defense grades. And that concludes the content that I have for this review of Chainsaw. As always, these are just my personal opinions on these heroes. I do love hearing your thoughts and feedback on them, so please do jump down to the comments section. I try to read and reply to as many of you as I can. If you did enjoy the content and found it to be useful, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel and all of that. But most importantly, share the video around, because chances are, if this sort of thing is useful for you, it's also going to be useful to the people that you play with as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me for this review video. I do hope that I will see you again soon, but until then, good luck, stay safe, and happy gaming. Cheers, bye!